Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all fresh and bright, and that you had a great night last night. I think we can see from the room here that probably a lot of people did have a really good night last night. But in any case, hope you're excited to hear about what we're going to talk about today, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion at WISE. So I'm Nadia Costanzo. I work at WISE. I essentially lead our expansion efforts for the company in the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. And how we do this, my team, is through licensing and partnerships with financial institutions and banks across the continents. In parallel, I also lead our implementation of our efforts and initiatives to ensure that WISE is a safe and inclusive place to work. For those of you who don't know WISE, WISE is a global tech company, and we're working to build the best way to move money around the world. What makes us special is our mission. Our mission is consistently focused on our customers, and that is money without borders, instant, convenient, transparent, and eventually free. To work towards our mission, we're powering consumers, businesses, banks, and financial institutions to move money around the world through our various product offerings. Our first product, which is the one we started with back in 2011, is the WISE Transfer product. And through this product, we're building the fastest and most convenient way to move money around the world. It's also the cheapest way to move money around the world, and how we do this is by not charging hidden fees, as well as offering the real market exchange rate, so that you know exactly what you're paying for when you're sending money around the world. We also offer the WISE account. This is an account which allows you to hold money in up to 50 different currencies while reaping the benefits of our cross-currency money conversion. You can also use our card, which allows you to spend all over the world at a very low cost. We offer this product to businesses as well, and these are for businesses who are trying to go global. We offer a special suite of features as well, in addition to the money transfer and the account product, which includes mass payouts so that you can pay for your salaries or for your invoices in a massive way, as well as accounting software for auto-reconciliation. And finally, we use the magic of WISE, and we bring that to banks and businesses such as LHV, Google Pay, Monzo, so that they can bring our product and our benefits to their customers through our infrastructure. So with all these products, we've built a very, very global network. We are operating in over 80 different countries, so we have a big global footprint. And by nature, our customers are very diverse. And that means that we need to have a very diverse team that can build products that speak to those customers and make them want to use us. We need to build empathy with those customers, and we need to understand what they want and have a team that's reflective of them. To date, WISE is made of over 3,000 curious and intelligent people from over 90 different nationalities. By the way, our talent office, which is just down the road across Old Town, has 1,300 WISErs who are working towards our mission. This kind of representation is what's allowing us to build a better and more tailored product for our customers every day. So if we're talking about representation in our product, we need to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'll talk about these things together because it's kind of meaningless to talk about one without talking about the other. By nature, it's easy for a global business to have a very diverse team. But if we don't think about equity and inclusion actively, then we're leaving out a very important part, and we're not allowing diversity to actually have its value that it can have in our team. Without giving everyone a voice, diversity can only get us so far. So inclusion needs to be thought about actively and curated in a way that we can actually create this diverse team that's having an impact. But before we go into how we curate it, I'm going to talk about first what it is and why it's important. So what does inclusion mean to us at WISE? Inclusion is an environment where all WISErs feel respected, that our unique traits, characteristics, and backgrounds are valued at work, and that we don't feel like we need to put a mask on or hide our identities in fear of it preventing us from getting forward within our careers or from us having a seat at the table. It's also an environment where we feel like we belong. You feel like you're valued, and you are an essential part of our mission. You don't feel left out, and you feel emotionally and socially supported. It's a place where we feel empowered to share our contributions. You feel supported in developing your skills and progressing. And any obstacles that you face in your progress is not an obstacle that you're facing based on your unique traits or characteristics, but based on an obstacle that anyone would face if they were in your shoes. And finally, it's a place, an inclusive place, is a place where we all have a fair chance of progression, where you don't face or witness prejudice or discrimination in the worst place, and your characteristics and contributions are appropriately valued and rewarded. You know what you need to do to progress. But so how does that differ from diversity? Diversity is the traits and characteristics that make people unique, while inclusion are the behaviors and social norms that ensure people feel welcome. So diversity is the what, and inclusion is the how. It's the measure of how culture of diversity can thrive. You might have heard the expression before, but diversity is like being invited to the party, while inclusion is like being asked to dance. But so where does equity fit into that? Well, equity is acknowledging not everyone is coming from the same starting point, that different characteristics and backgrounds can either hinder you or help you in your success. So equity is leveling the playing field for people so that everyone has the same fair access and opportunities despite where they're coming from and what they look like. So why should we focus on DEI? Well, there's significant research that shows that DEI is actually good for business. Diversity and inclusion have been proven to enhance creativity and innovation, enabling companies and people to come up with unique solutions and ideas to solve problems. Diverse problem solvers have been shown to actually outperform very high ability but homogeneous problem solvers. Diversity also allows for better results and performance. A study by McKinsey shows that companies with the most diverse leadership teams have 53% better return on equity than those companies that have the least diverse leadership teams, and 14% better, higher earnings before income, before interest and taxes. The performance is also linked to the product that you're building. So having a diverse team helps us build better products that are better suited to the needs of our customers, that allows you to understand their motivations, their desires, their behaviors, because we can't do that without understanding our customers. And then finally, because it's the right thing to do. Everyone has the capacity and potential to contribute and make a difference, but not everyone has that same opportunity. So actively focusing on D&I in the workplace is what will allow most people to have a bigger impact. So now let's move into the juicy bit. How can you actually make a company more diverse and inclusive? I'll tell you today about how WISE does it. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and many companies will do it very differently, but we'll hear about how WISE does it. So for us at WISE, DEI efforts start at the top of the funnel, and that means at the hiring process, or even before that. So we set diversity targets in our hiring process, where we try to have a specific number of people coming in, both at our leadership levels and across the board. In engineering, we've set a target of 25% female applications to be incoming, and in product, we have set a target for 50-50 split across the level, but also at the leadership levels. These have been active efforts by our leaders in these different areas, as well as our recruitment teams to enhance diversity. It's important to note, we do have a diversity and inclusion team, but it's not just on them to make diversity happen and inclusion happen. They can help us, support us in our understanding of diversity and inclusion, but this is a responsibility for everyone, and without leaders buying into this, you're only going to get so far. Setting targets is not enough, though. We need to acknowledge that certain people might not be drawn to apply or to come to a tech company or any other type of company, really. And so we need to be very proactive about sourcing these people. So what we do is we do sourcing at the hiring stage for candidates on LinkedIn, conferences, through networking, and we also try to make sure that our process speaks to people that are from diverse backgrounds. So our job descriptions are passed through inclusivity tools to make sure that they're inclusive, and we ensure that we have a diverse panel of people on the interview panel to make sure that people feel represented and that they can see people who might look like themselves. And we also work to ensure that we can cater to different needs throughout the process. Sometimes hiring starts well before we're actually trying to hire. WISE supports education initiatives for youth and girls to seek for careers in tech by building their skills. In Estonia specifically, we have developed certain modules that focus on tech and entrepreneurship, and these are free and accessible for all, so that youth can start building their skills and preparing themselves for a future career in tech. This is not only building a pipeline for us, for our future WISErs, but it's also building a community of people that are diverse and that would be interested in working in the tech industry in the future. So D&I efforts certainly don't stop at the hiring stage. It's not just about getting people in the door. You have to actively curate these people once they do come into the door. You need to elevate role models and continue to setting targets so that through promotion cycles and as you develop people, this is constantly considered. So our targets, for example, at the leadership level are that 50% of all senior leads there should be a 50% gender diversity at those levels. This is done through headhunting as well as growing people at those levels. We also set ourselves up to eliminate the gender pay gap, which is different from equal pay, which unequal pay is illegal in places like the UK. But the gender pay gap is essentially comparing average hourly earnings between men and women to basically understand what is the percentage of women who are represented at leadership or the most high-paid levels within the organization. So you're probably asking yourselves, how is WISE doing on this? Well, we're not quite there yet. So at our leadership levels, we're still at only about 20% gender diversity, which shows that having targets alone is not enough. And we're also still at a 20% gender pay gap, showing that we're not hiring enough people at either the leadership levels or within the most high-paying jobs like engineering or product, which typically are harder to hire females in, but it's not an excuse for us not to do so. So in order to continue supporting people in their development, we are constantly catering for people's needs and growth. We have different communities at WISE, both organic and curated. We have events for WISE women, is what we call it. We have Black WISERS lunches. We have an LGBT community. And these are essentially spaces for people to share experiences, have a sounding board, and a safe space for people to really grow and support one another within. But so there are some caveats to being able to implement initiatives on diversity and inclusion, and those are around beliefs, understandings, and behaviors. Many people are very unaware of the concerted effort that it takes to build a diverse and inclusive team. And it's not necessarily their fault, but we have a responsibility as a company to work together to share learnings and experiences so that we can build a common understanding for people, and they can understand these topics and subsequently change their behaviors. At WISE, we're doing this through different trainings. So we have rolled out e-learning modules on diversity and inclusion, but we also have done immersive trainings with our leadership teams, and we have a series of cultural events throughout the year to raise awareness of different cultures. Finally, it's really important for us to not only focus on DEI at the internal level, but also for our customers. As I mentioned before, we have a very diverse customer base, and it's not just because we're international. Every company will have a diverse customer base. Diversity isn't just nationality. Diversity is gender, it's disability or ability, it's sexual orientation. So we need to really make sure that we're supporting people, our customers, to make sure that they're feeling supported and included. Some of the recent initiatives that we've been taking in this regard is focusing on transgendered people. We've developed guidelines for our customer support and compliance agents so that they can better know how to communicate appropriately with people from these backgrounds. We also have a preferred name project in the product where people can essentially choose a name that they would rather be addressed by. So D&I issues are not only complex and nuanced, they're deeply rooted in our history, culture, and behaviors. And this makes them a lot harder to address than many other issues that we might be dealing with. This is not to make an excuse for companies not to address them. Developing diverse and inclusive teams will take time, as it requires changing limiting beliefs and structures. But with the right mindset and approaches, we can get on the right path. Not everyone will do it the same. As you can see, WISE has focused the majority of its efforts on gender balance and gender inclusion. We still have a long way to go on things like race, sexual orientation, disability. And other companies are probably doing better than us in those regards, but they might be doing worse than us in other regards. But that's okay, as long as we're active and acknowledging that we need to get on the right path to get there. Because ultimately, aside from being the right thing to do, it's just good for business. Thank you.